smart. If someone tries to insult you and say you're a bird brain, my response would probably be, thank you.
Skinner trains his pigeons using positive reinforcement. If it makes the right response, like pecking when it's told to, the pigeon gets a reward. Using this method, he trains them to complete incredibly complex tasks. He even teaches them to play ping pong. Project Pigeon gets full military funding. And Skinner comes up with a groundbreaking missile design. The pigeon's head is squeezed into a sock, and it's placed in the missile where it can see the target ship through the window. When the missile goes off course, the pigeon pecks at the target ship. The pecking controls the tail fin, bringing the missile back on target.
He's not thinking, I want to get that target, right? But he is going to keep pecking when the target stays on the center, because that's when he was getting his food during training.
A metal conductor was attached to the bird's beak to transmit its pecks to the guidance system. This footage shows Skinner's actual testing, using projected images of enemy ships. The pigeons hit the target with near-perfect accuracy.
V.F. Skinner proved, beyond a shadow of doubt, that a pigeon-guided bomb would work.
Even though it tested well, the U.S. High Command simply could not bring themselves to trust their bombs to bird brains. Luckily for the pigeons, they pulled the plug. The super psychologist was ultimately stymied by a simple lack of trust.
Wouldn't you love to see it? Imagine taking out the enemy with a pigeon. That's got to be worth seeing.
Weird warriors will tell you that honesty is everything, but they're lying.
Deception works in war. In fact, it's very, very important.
In weird warfare, you've got to fight sneaky.
Winston Churchill said it was so important that the truth had to be surrounded by a bodyguard of lies.
Things are never what they seem. Especially when dummies go to war. Dummies have a long and dishonorable history in weird warfare, going back almost 1,300 years. A fortress of the Chinese Tang Dynasty is under siege, and the defenders have run out of arrows. So their general comes up with a cunning plan.
He's going to make straw dummies and then lower them down the side of the castle at night.
The dummies are bait, arrow bait.
The enemy will think that this is an attack and will pepper them with arrows.
The dummies are pulled back over the castle wall. And hey presto, instant resupply of arrows.
The Tang people were rearmed. It's an absolutely brilliant scheme. Absolutely brilliant.
Using dummies to rearm your troops was unquestionably clever. But during World War I, they went one step further. They directly saved thousands of lives. During trench warfare, the British Army lost countless men to an invisible enemy. Highly trained German snipers.
A sniper can be a very long way away, and all of a sudden, somebody's dead.
Eliminating snipers became priority number one. But how do you kill someone whose main job is to hide? Our weird warfare specialists are about to demonstrate. Our enemy sniper is going to hide behind one of these 5 trees. Using a dummy, the home side has got to find and eliminate him.
The dummies that were used during the First World War for anti-sniping purposes in particular weren't very realistic, but they could be shot at. And that was the point, to get the enemy to shoot them.
Details are added to make the dummy look more lifelike.
To make the thing more realistic, you give the dummy all sorts of characteristics which make it more human.
The dummy's features don't matter. All you need is something that feels real.
You do a thing in psychology called closure. You complete the picture.
The sniper sees a helmet, a cigarette, and a human-like movement. So his brain tells him that this is a human target. Because bullets travel at a straight line, the exit and entry wounds make a line of sight that points directly to the sniper's location.
Hold on. It's a 2. You hit 2. Excellent.
Dummies appeared in numerous battles during World War I, including the Somme, and by some estimates saved more than 3,500 lives. So the psychological principle of closure was being used to fool snipers as early as World War I. But by the 1980s, scientists and spies had an even better understanding of how it could work. And one agent would use closure to help him vanish into thin air. New Mexico, 1985. Ex-CIA agent Edward Lee Howard is suspected of passing vital secrets to the Soviet Union.
The U.S. were highly suspicious of him, and they actually had him under observation.
Howard is in big trouble. The net is closing in, and he's running out of options.
Howard decides he's got to escape, and he recruits his wife to help him get away.
No CIA agent has successfully defected to the Soviet Union, but that doesn't deter the Howards.
The Howards were very smart. They were experienced spy people. They knew how surveillance worked, and they knew that to deceive someone, they had to set up a picture like a play. They had to set up an act.
Using the art of dummy warfare, Edward Lee Howard plans to give his watchers the slip. This modern experiment will demonstrate how. Jake Fairney is a neuroscientist. He looks as if he's lost, but it's all an act. His colleagues are waiting in the wings.
Even designing the experiment and taking part in it, you just don't think it's actually going to work.
What Jake really wants to know is how much attention people pay to what's going on around them. As his subject looks at the map, Jake's colleague switches with him. But the subject doesn't notice.
4 came through. He switched.
Oh, what?
People think that their eyes are like video cameras and take in every fine detail. But actually, it's shocking how little people actually take in.
This is the phenomenon of change blindness in action. When we are focused on one area, like a map, we miss other visual cues. The key is to create a blind spot, so the switch happens out of sight. People assume they're still talking to the same person. Hardly anyone questions the details.
Under certain situations, 90% of people don't notice a change at all.
You don't even need a living, breathing person. Our old friend, the dummy, can stand in.
Sorry, I just need to get this. Yeah? Do you know where we are on here?
It's crazy.
Yes.
Even when you've done the experiment over and over, just can't believe every time that it works.
Back in New Mexico, change blindness will allow Edward Lee Howard to disappear. While driving with his wife, Howard plans to bail out of the car and be replaced by a dummy.
You could, say, make a turn at a corner, bail out of the car, your buddy could pop the dummy, and the dummy would appear, and the pursuit would continue.
But they have to be quick. They only have 5 seconds to get the dummy into position. So how do you come up with a compact and fast-acting dummy? As Howard was aware, the CIA had a solution, and it was truly bizarre. In the early 1980s, the CIA investigated how to use dummies with change blindness. What they needed was something that would look like a human and could be erected in seconds.
I would think it'd be something that could deploy just like an airbag, real quick.
I start thinking of those dolls that are sometimes used for other purposes.
But getting sex dolls delivered to Langley's might raise some eyebrows.
Somebody's got to go down to a shop. Said, excuse me, I'd like half a dozen blow-up dolls, please. But don't worry, we're with the CIA. It's all perfectly legitimate. Yeah, whatever.
Our weird warfare scientists are about to test the very problem the CIA was trying to solve.
Your problem's going to be how you're going to make it fast enough that it will inflate quickly, but at the same time be able to stop at the crucial moment before this thing explodes.
The first option, pumping up the doll with compressed air.
Okay, ready to go?
But will they get it up fast enough?
Here we go.
10 seconds, much too slow, and the doll's still hanging a bit loose.
A second option is, of course, to use some kind of compressed gas, and certainly the one that's most easily to hand is carbon dioxide that you have in fire extinguishers.
The extinguisher option. Much higher pressure. Much faster. Much riskier. For the doll, anyway.
Around the corner, braking now!
Oh, wow!
Oh dear.
You get extremely rapid cooling. In other words, you immediately get frosting up around the place where you fire the extinguisher.
Frost and thin plastic don't mix. The fact is, sex dolls were never built for speed. Howard and his wife Mary are aware of these CIA tests. History reveals they had a much simpler technique. Mary is driving. She approaches a corner and makes a quick turn. Howard rolls out of the passenger car door and hides. Mary pulls out the simplest dummy. Just a toilet plunger, a coat hanger, and a jacket, with a styrofoam head and a wig, and attaches it to the roof of the car. As the FBI surveillance team come around the corner seconds later, they don't notice a thing.
The observers didn't figure out what was going on until Howard had literally stepped off a plane in Moscow and announced, essentially, that he had defected.
And Howard achieved this with just a dummy and a coat hanger.
Around the corner, brake! Out! Done. That's it, and we're on our way again.
As quick as that?
Yep.